I always believed I understood my grandson. For years I watched that boy grow up quiet as a shadow. When he was little, he used to look confused all the time, like the world was too loud and too bright for him. The doctors threw labels at him one after another. First they said autism, then they said selective mutism. After that it was a string of other conditions that never quite seemed to fit right. But the one thing that never changed was this: he did not speak. Not a single word. Not even a sound. He communicated with his hands, with small gestures, with drawings, and mostly with those big hazel eyes of his. Those eyes always looked like they were carrying something heavy. Too heavy for a child. My name is Michael Thompson. I am 67 years old. I spent 33 years teaching history at a high school in Vancouver before I retired and moved to Victoria for a quieter life. My wife, Margaret, died of cancer 4 years ago. Since then, my son Andrew and his wife Brittany have been my only close family. They live in North Vancouver with my grandson, Caleb, who just turned 10. They bought a modest craftsman-style house during the real estate boom, back when prices were rising faster than anyone thought was reasonable. Last November, everything I thought I knew about my family shattered in one moment. Even now, when I remember it, my hands tremble. It started on a Tuesday evening. Andrew called me. I could tell right away something was wrong. His voice sounded tight, stretched thin. "Dad, I need to ask you a huge favor," he said without any small talk. "Of course," I told him. "What is it?" "Brittany's mom had a stroke. She is in the intensive care unit in Edmonton. We have to fly out tonight. We cannot find anyone to stay with Caleb. His regular babysitter is away, and the respite care worker we use sometimes is fully booked. Could he stay with you? Just a few days. Maybe a week." I did not hesitate for a second. "Absolutely. Bring him over. I will get the spare room ready." "Dad, you remember how he is," Andrew said carefully. "He is not easy." "He is my grandson," I said. "We will be fine." 2 hours later, Andrew's Subaru pulled into my driveway. Caleb stepped out of the back seat holding his faded blue backpack and that stuffed orca whale he had carried around since he was 3 years old. He looked up at me, studying me the way he always did, but he did not say anything. He never did. Brittany hurried through instructions while Andrew unloaded bags from the trunk. They had packed anxiety medication, his weighted blanket, the plates he preferred, his tablet with communication applications, extra clothes, special snacks. It looked like they were sending him away for a month, even though they hoped it would only be a week. "He has been doing better," Brittany said, but she looked worn down and older than her 39 years. "The new therapist thinks he might talk one day. We just have to keep being patient." "He will be fine here," I told her. "You two focus on your mother." Andrew crouched down in front of Caleb. "Remember what we talked about? You are staying with Grandpa for a little while. We will video call every day." He held out his fist. Caleb tapped it lightly, his face blank. Then they were gone. Apologies, reminders, car doors closing, tail lights fading down the street. I turned around and saw Caleb standing in my living room, still holding that stuffed whale. The house felt extra quiet all of a sudden. "Well, Caleb," I said gently, the way I had learned to speak around him, calm and steady. "Let us get you settled. Are you hungry?" He shook his head. "Thirsty? Juice maybe?" Another small shake of the head. "All right, I will show you your room. After that we can watch a movie or play a game. Whatever you like." Upstairs, I had cleared out my old exercise equipment and made up the bed with clean sheets. Caleb stepped inside, looked around slowly, then sat on the edge of the bed without taking off his backpack. "You can unpack," I told him. "I can help if you want." He unzipped the bag and took things out one by one, neat and precise. His tablet, pajamas, toothbrush, a small spiral notebook with a pen clipped to it. That notebook was how he talked to people. He would write down questions or requests and show them to you. It took time, but it worked. I left him there and went downstairs to make tea. Rain had started falling outside, steady November rain tapping against the windows of my small ranch-style house. I moved there after Margaret died. I could not stay in the old house full of memories. This place was easier to manage, but sometimes it felt too quiet. I told myself having Caleb here would be good. Hard, maybe, but good. I was waiting for my tea to steep when I heard him come down the stairs. He was already in pajamas, even though it was only 7 in the evening. He held out his notebook. "Can I have water?" "Of course," I said. I poured a glass from the filtered pitcher and handed it to him. He drank half of it standing in the kitchen. Then he wrote again. "Thank you." You are welcome. He lingered like he wanted to add something, but instead he turned and went back upstairs. I heard the guest room door close softly. The first 2 days went smoothly. He mostly kept to himself, wearing headphones and spending hours on his tablet. I cooked his meals. He ate carefully and quietly. In the evenings, we watched nature documentaries. He seemed especially drawn to the ones about the ocean. Whenever something caught his interest, he would point at the screen. I would nod and make a comment. That was our way of talking. I spoke to Andrew twice a day. Brittany's mother was stable, but would need serious rehabilitation. They would probably be gone 2 weeks, maybe longer. Sorry to put this on you, Andrew said each time. You are not putting anything on me, I answered. He is family. On the third evening, I did not feel quite right. Just a dull headache and a kind of heavy tiredness. I am not a young man anymore. At my last appointment, my blood pressure had been creeping up. My doctor prescribed medication and told me to watch my salt and keep stress low. I took my pills with dinner like I always did. I kept them sorted in a weekly organizer. White tablets for blood pressure, small yellow ones for cholesterol, and a low-dose aspirin for heart health. Not glamorous, but that is part of getting older. Caleb sat across from me, pushing pasta around his plate. He barely ate. I was about to ask if something was wrong when he suddenly stood up, grabbed his notebook, and started writing fast. He shoved it toward me. Do not take the white pills. I blinked. What? He wrote again, even faster. Do not take white pills. Dad changed them. My mind struggled to catch up. Caleb, what are you talking about? He snatched the notebook back and wrote more, pressing so hard I thought the paper might tear. 3 weeks ago I saw him switch your pills. They are not medicine. A cold feeling spread through my stomach. Caleb, this is serious. Are you sure? He nodded hard. Then something happened that froze me in place. Grandpa. The word came out rough and thin, like it hurt to push it through his throat. But it was clear. It was spoken. Do not take the pills. I could not move. My fork was still in my hand. He had never spoken. Not once in all the years anyone had known him. Caleb, I said slowly, barely breathing. Did you just talk? Yes, he said, clearer this time. I can talk. I always could. Mom told me if I ever talked about what I know, she would send me away. She said they would put me somewhere bad. A place for kids who lie. The room felt like it was tilting sideways. What are you saying? I whispered. What do you know? His words started coming faster now, like he had been holding them back for years. Dad is going to kill you. I heard them talking at night. Mom and Dad. They need money. A lot of money. They owe bad people. You have the house. You have savings. You have life insurance. If you die, they get everything. It felt like somebody hit me square in the chest. That is not possible, I said. My voice sounded strange, even to me. Andrew would never. Caleb shook his head hard. He did not want to at first, he said. His voice cracked, like it was painful to use. I heard him crying. But Mom kept saying they had no choice. She said the people they owe would hurt them. And hurt you. She said the only way to get that much money fast was you. I could barely breathe. How do you know about the pills? I followed them, he said. 3 weeks ago, when they came here with lunch. Remember? They brought Chinese food. Mom kept you in the living room, showing you pictures from my school. Dad said he needed the bathroom. I watched from the hallway. He opened your medicine cabinet. He switched the pills in your weekly box. He put your real ones in his pocket and left different ones. He swallowed hard. I did not know what to do. Mom already told me what happens to kids who tell secrets. My head started spinning. 3 weeks ago, Sunday, they had brought food. Brittany had sat next to me on the couch scrolling through photographs on her phone. Andrew had gone down the hall. I had not thought a thing about it. Do you know what he replaced them with? I asked. Caleb shook his head. I do not know the names. But I heard Mom say later that it would take a few weeks. She said it would look natural. Like a stroke. Or a heart attack. Something that just happens to old people. Old people. Hearing that come out of my grandson's mouth hurt more than I expected. I stood up so fast my chair scraped hard across the floor. Caleb flinched. I am not mad at you, I said quickly. You did the right thing. But I need to check something. He followed me down the hallway. My hands were shaking as I opened the medicine cabinet and pulled out my pill organizer. I dumped the remaining white tablets into my palm. They looked exactly like my blood pressure medicine. Same size, same shape, same white coating. But there had been changes lately. I had felt weaker, dizzy sometimes, foggy in the head. I blamed stress, age, grief. What if it was not that? I need to call my doctor, I said. It took 20 minutes to reach the on-call physician through the emergency line. A young doctor named Dr. Ramirez answered. I explained everything as calmly as I could, though my voice kept trembling. Sir, she said, steady and professional, that is a very serious accusation. I need you to bring those pills to the hospital immediately. Can you come tonight? It is 8 in the evening. My grandson is with me. Bring him. If you have been ingesting the wrong medication, you could be in danger. We need to test those pills and run blood work right away. The drive to the hospital felt unreal. Caleb sat in the passenger seat wearing his pajamas with my spare coat thrown over them. He had not stopped talking. I am sorry I did not tell you sooner, he said again. You were scared, I said. Mom said if I ever talked, if anyone found out I could talk, she would know I was telling secrets. She said she would send me away, somewhere bad. So I stayed quiet. For 6 years? I asked. He nodded. Since I was 4. I just stopped talking. So she would never think I told anyone. 6 years. A child pretending to be silent for 6 full years to protect himself. Why now? I asked softly. Because I heard them on the phone last night, he said. Mom called Dad. She asked if you took your medicine. She asked if you looked sick yet. She sounded happy. And I knew if I did not say something, you would die. And I do not want you to die, Grandpa. You are the only one who has ever been nice to me. My eyes filled with tears, but I kept driving. At the hospital, they brought us into a private examination room. I handed over the pills. Dr. Ramirez listened carefully while a nurse checked my blood pressure. It is quite low, the nurse said, frowning, especially for someone already taking medication to control it. The doctor sealed the pills in a plastic evidence bag. We will send these to the laboratory, she said. Preliminary results should come back in a few hours. In the meantime, I want a full blood panel. They drew more blood than I thought I had in me. Caleb sat quietly in the corner, watching everything. A social worker came in and asked if she could speak with him alone. I started to protest, but Caleb stood up. It is okay, he said. I will tell them everything. He was gone almost an hour. I sat there thinking about my son. Andrew had always struggled with money. He had made reckless investments in cryptocurrency. He tried to start a business that failed. I had helped him more than once. I believed he was getting back on his feet. Brittany was harder to read. Polished. Organized. Working as a paralegal downtown. But there was always something cold behind her smile. I told myself it was stress. She was Caleb's mother. And yet she had threatened her own child into silence for years. Close to midnight, Dr. Ramirez came back. Her face told me everything before she spoke. Sir, those pills are not your prescribed medication, she said. They contain a combination of substances that would dangerously lower your blood pressure. There are elevated levels of clonidine and additional beta blockers. It is a mixture designed to make you appear as though you are naturally declining. She paused. If you had continued taking them for another week or 2, you likely would have experienced a major cardiac event. Possibly a stroke. Possibly a fatal heart attack. The room felt like it tilted again. What do I do? I asked. First, we stabilize you. You are showing signs of toxicity, but we caught it early. We will flush your system and monitor you overnight. Second, you need to contact law enforcement. This is attempted homicide. The police arrived within the hour. A middle-aged officer named Officer Grant and a younger officer named Officer Miller took statements from both of us. Caleb told his story again, steadier this time. He described watching his father switch the pills. He described overhearing late-night conversations. He even mentioned seeing documents on Andrew's laptop about my life insurance policy and the equity in my house. Your grandson is extremely observant, Officer Grant said quietly, and very brave. He has been protecting himself for 6 years, I replied. We will verify everything, Officer Miller said. But if this checks out, we are looking at conspiracy to commit murder, child endangerment, and other serious charges. Where are your son and daughter-in-law right now? In Edmonton. Brittany's mother is hospitalized there. They exchanged a look. We will coordinate with the authorities there, Officer Grant said. For now, you and your grandson cannot return home. Do you have somewhere safe to stay? I did not have much family left. My wife was gone. Andrew was my only child. I had a sister in Toronto, but we were not close. I called an old friend from my teaching days, a man named Harold. He lived 10 minutes away. When he heard my voice, he came immediately. You both stay with us as long as you need, he said. What kind of world is this, where a son tries to kill his own father? We were discharged around 3 in the morning with instructions to return if I felt worse. Harold drove us to his small, comfortable bungalow. His wife, Linda, had made up the guest room. Caleb fell asleep almost instantly. The weight of finally speaking after 6 silent years had drained him. I sat in Harold's living room with a cup of chamomile tea Linda pressed into my hands. "The boy saved your life," Harold said quietly. I stared into my cup. "If he had not spoken when he did," I said, "I would be dead in a week, and they would have walked away with everything." "What happens now?" I asked the officer that night. He looked at me and said, "We take it one step at a time." What happened after that moved fast. Faster than I thought possible. Police in Edmonton found Andrew and Brittany at the hospital where Brittany's mother was supposedly recovering. They brought them in for questioning right there. At first, they denied everything. Andrew claimed Caleb was unstable. He said our grandson had always had mental problems and must have made the whole story up. Brittany insisted she had never threatened her son. She said he had never been able to speak and that this sudden talking was some kind of breakdown caused by stress. But then the evidence started stacking up. The laboratory report confirmed the pills were not a pharmacy mistake. They were intentionally altered. The mixture was designed to lower my blood pressure to dangerous levels and trigger what would look like a natural cardiac event. Police obtained a warrant for their financial records. That was when the truth about the money came out. They were more than $200,000 in debt, most of it from gambling, online sports betting, poker websites, digital casino games. Brittany had started it. She hid it at first. When creditors began making threats, she told Andrew. That was when they started planning. Andrew's laptop told its own story. Internet searches for undetectable poisons. Searches about how to stage a natural death. Questions about life insurance payout timelines. He had looked up my medical conditions and researched medications that could be swapped without raising suspicion. The worst part was the text messages. From the night they switched my pills. "It is done," Andrew had written. "In 3 weeks, maybe a month, he will have a cardiac event. The doctor will think it is natural for his age. We will be clear." Brittany responded, "Make sure the kid did not see anything. Last thing we need is him communicating it somehow." They knew Caleb was observant. They just believed he was powerless. Police also discovered something else. Brittany's mother never had a stroke. She was perfectly fine. The emergency had been fabricated. They needed a reason to get Caleb out of their house and into mine. They wanted to be in another city when I collapsed. The plan was to rush back for the funeral, play the grieving family, and collect the inheritance. Andrew broke first during questioning. He confessed. He cried, I was told. He said it was mostly Brittany's idea. He said he was terrified of the people they owed money to. He claimed he loved me, but did not see another way out. Brittany never admitted anything. Even when confronted with the messages and the toxicology report, she denied it all. When they brought up Caleb's testimony, she said he was lying. She said he had always been disturbed and that this was revenge for her being a strict mother. They were both arrested and charged with attempted murder, conspiracy to commit murder, fraud, and child endangerment. Caleb's account of being threatened into silence for 6 years added abuse charges. The preliminary hearing took place in January. Caleb had to testify. He was terrified. A victim services counselor sat beside him, but he still shook when he walked into that courtroom. I sat behind him and watched my 10-year-old grandson speak in that still slightly rough voice about how, when he was 4 years old, his mother told him if he ever spoke, she would send him away to a place for bad children. He described how she repeated that threat again and again over the years. How he taught himself to read in secret. How he listened carefully to everything in that house because he knew something was wrong but had no safe way to say it. Brittany stared at him with cold eyes. Andrew could not look at him at all. The judge ordered both of them held without bail. Trial was set for April. In the meantime, Caleb came to live with me permanently. The court granted me emergency custody. We moved back into my house in Victoria. I installed new locks. I put in a security system. I also got a new prescription for my real blood pressure medication and saw my doctor weekly until my numbers stabilized. As the weeks passed, Caleb's voice grew stronger. At first it was careful and measured. Then it became steady. Soon, he was talking constantly. It was like 6 years of silence had built up inside him, and now it was all coming out. He asked questions about everything. History, science, my childhood, his future. One night while we were washing dishes, he asked, "Will I have to go back to them?" "No," I said firmly. "Never. The court will make sure of that. But they are my parents. Biologically, yes. But parents are supposed to protect their children, not threaten them, not use them. You will stay with me as long as you need. He was quiet for a moment. What if you die, he asked. Not because of them, just because you are old. I actually smiled a little. I am 67, not ancient. But I have already spoken to a lawyer. If something happens to me, you will go to my sister in Toronto. She is kind. She will take care of you. He thought about that and nodded. Then I asked him something I had been wondering. Why did you not tell me earlier? Before they switched the pills? You must have heard them planning. He dried a plate slowly before answering. I was scared you would not believe me, he said. Adults never believed me. Teachers thought I was stupid. Doctors thought I was broken. Even you and Dad thought I did not understand things. How was I supposed to convince you of something that sounded crazy? By talking, I said gently. If I talked too early, Mom would know I was telling secrets, he replied. She would send me away before I could help you. I had to wait until it really mattered, when someone would have to listen. That logic broke my heart. A child calculating the exact moment his voice would carry enough weight to save a life. You did the right thing, I told him. You saved me. I will never forget that. The trial in April did not last long. Andrew pleaded guilty to all charges in exchange for a reduced sentence. He received 12 years, with the possibility of parole after 8. Brittany refused to plead. After a 3-day trial, she was convicted on all counts. She received 20 years, with no possibility of parole for 15. Caleb did not attend sentencing. He was in school. We enrolled him in a small private school in Victoria that specializes in children who have experienced trauma. He thrived there. His teacher told me he was reading at a high school level. He had educated himself quietly for years, absorbing information through observation and secret reading. He also began therapy twice a week with a psychologist who focuses on childhood trauma. She told me his 6-year silence was one of the most extreme examples of protective mutism she had seen. The level of control it took to maintain that act, even through evaluations and doctor visits, was extraordinary. But it also means he carried everything alone, she said. He will need long-term support. What his mother did does not just fade away, but he is resilient. And he has you. We settled into a steady routine. School in the mornings, homework in the afternoon, free time after that. He read constantly or researched things on the computer. He developed a deep interest in marine biology. That stuffed orca still sat on his bed, but now he could explain to me in detail how orcas hunt, how their social groups function, how intelligent they are. Evenings were my favorite. Dinner together. Real conversations. He asked about my years teaching history, about my late wife. I told him stories about former students and about events I had lived through. He listened with full attention. One evening in June, we were walking along the beach near the house. The sun was low over the water. Grandpa, he said, do you think Dad ever really loved me? I had been afraid of that question. I think he did, in his own flawed way, I said carefully. But he made terrible choices. He let fear and desperation take over. That does not excuse what he did. And Mom, that was harder. I do not know, I said honestly. I would like to believe she loved you once. But threatening a child the way she did is not love. Real love does not come with fear attached. He picked up a smooth stone and threw it into the waves. I do not miss them, he said. Is that bad? No, I told him. It is honest. And after everything they put you through, I told Caleb that evening on the beach, you are allowed to feel however you feel. He looked up at me. I am glad I am with you, he said. I am glad you are with me too, I answered. We stood there watching the sun sink into the Pacific. Just the two of us. A grandfather and a grandson who had survived something neither of us would have believed possible a year earlier. He saved my life by breaking 6 years of silence. In return, I gave him a home where he never had to be silent again. The legal process dragged on for months. Andrew and Brittany's assets were seized. Their house was sold. What little remained after debts and legal fees was placed into a trust for Caleb, to be released when he turned 18. The court named me his permanent legal guardian. They also granted him the right to change his last name if he chose to. He thought about it for a while. Then he decided to take my late wife's maiden name. He became Caleb Harris. He said he wanted a name that was not tied to what his parents had done. A clean start. I understood that. In September, almost a year after the night he first spoke, Caleb started 5th grade. Socially, he was still catching up. 6 years of silence leaves marks. But academically, he was ahead of most of his classmates. He made friends slowly, carefully, but the friendships were real. He joined the school's marine biology club. He smiled more often. One afternoon, his teacher called me in. I was worried I had missed something, but when I got there, she was practically glowing. "Mr. Thompson," she said, "Caleb gave a presentation today about orcas in front of the entire class. It was extraordinary. He spoke for 15 minutes without notes. The research was impressive, but what stood out was his confidence." She paused and smiled. He talked about how orcas protect their families, about loyalty. A few students were in tears by the end. He is a remarkable young man. That night at dinner, I asked him about it. "Were you nervous?" "A little," he admitted. "But then I thought about how I stayed quiet for 6 years because I was scared, and that almost cost you your life. So now, if I have something to say, I say it. The worst thing that happens is someone does not listen. At least I tried." There was wisdom in that boy that most adults never reach. We are coming up on 2 years now. Caleb is 12. He is tall and lean. His voice has deepened. He still sees his therapist, Dr. Bennett, though not as often as before. The nightmares about his mother have mostly faded. He video calls my sister in Toronto regularly. They have grown close. He plans to spend part of the summer with her, getting to know more of the family. Andrew writes letters from prison. They arrive every few months, addressed to both of us. I open them first. They are full of apologies, explanations, claims that he has found faith, that he understands now, that he wants forgiveness, that he hopes Caleb will visit one day. I hand the letters to Caleb unopened and let him choose. So far, he has placed every single one in a box in his closet without reading them. "Maybe someday," he told me. "When I am older. When I am ready. But not now." Brittany has never written. I do not expect she ever will. The local newspaper ran a story about the case last year. They changed our names for privacy, but in a city the size of Victoria, people figure things out. For a few weeks, strangers would recognize us at the grocery store or the library. Some offered sympathy. Others asked questions that were none of their business. Caleb handled it better than I did. He would smile politely and say, "We do not really like to talk about it." Eventually, the attention faded, like it always does. We went back to being just another grandfather and grandson living quietly near the ocean. Still, I think about that November night often. About the moment he said, "Do not take the pills." For words that saved my life. I think about how easily I could have dismissed him. I could have told myself he was confused, that he misunderstood something, that children imagine things. I think about how many children stay silent for reasons adults never consider. Children labeled difficult, delayed, different. Children who see and understand far more than we give them credit for. We underestimate kids all the time. We mistake silence for ignorance, youth for naivety. We talk over them and around them, assuming they do not grasp what is happening. But Caleb understood everything. He watched. He listened. He calculated. He survived by pretending to be less capable than he truly was. And then he saved a life by revealing who he really was. If there is one thing I have learned, it is this: listen to children. Not only when they speak, but when they do not. Pay attention to what frightens them, what makes them withdraw. Sometimes silence is not weakness. Sometimes it is defense. And sometimes the bravest act a child can commit is breaking that silence. Caleb did not only save me, he saved himself. By speaking, he proved that the threats hanging over him were empty. That truth would not destroy him. It would free him. Now he talks constantly, sometimes more than I can keep up with. He will go on for an hour about a documentary or a book or a new discovery about whales. And I listen. Every single time. We have built a good life. Not the one either of us expected, but a good one all the same. We cook dinner together. We explore tide pools on weekends. We read. We argue about history and science and which music is better. We talk about feelings openly, something I never did well when I was younger. Last week he asked if we could get a dog. A big one, he said. For protection. I suspect he wants companionship more than protection. All right, I told him. We will visit the shelter this weekend. Thanks, Grandpa, he said, for believing me, for keeping me safe. You are not just staying here, I told him. This is your home, for as long as you want it. He smiled, a real smile, the kind that reaches the eyes, the kind I never saw during those silent years. Tonight, as I sit at the kitchen table, he is upstairs doing homework. I can hear music through the ceiling, guitars, drums. Normal sounds. Safe sounds. In 2 days, the court will finalize the last paperwork. Legally, he will be my son, not only my grandson. If he chooses, he can take my last name too. We will be a family not just in practice, but on paper. I am 69 now. I take the correct medication. I see my doctor regularly. I am in decent health. With luck, I will see him graduate. Maybe even see what kind of man he becomes. But even if time moves faster than I hope, I know this. He will be all right. He survived years of fear. He outsmarted adults who underestimated him. He found his voice when it mattered most. That strength will carry him further than I ever could. As for Andrew and Brittany, I try not to waste energy hating them. Hate drains a man. I do not forgive them, but I do not let them take up space in my heart either. They lost everything because they chose greed over love. They underestimated a quiet child. And that child is upstairs right now, safe, loved, and free. Our story did not end in tragedy. It ended in truth. It ended in family. And every time I hear his voice call out, "Grandpa," from the top of the stairs, I am reminded that sometimes the smallest voice can change everything.